Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Avodah Zarah Daf Lamed Aleph. We begin on Lamed Amud Beis, 2 lines off the bottom. So we speak about Yain Nesach being usher to drink, usher even to have benefit from it. You can't sell it, etc. And likewise, any wine obtained from a goy has similar status to Yain Nesach. It's usher for concern that it might be Yain Nesach, etc. Now, why is Yain Nesach usher to drink or usher bahano? So the other day we had that comparison to mason, right? The Torah calls it zivchei mason. Anything offered to Avodah Zarah has the status of a mace, of a dead person, in which case it's usher, even bahano. Now, interestingly, it's not just some sort of a comparison. Today we're going to learn that the Yain Nesach material attains similar status, similar halachic status, in terms of even tumah is considered in a way like a mace that contains tumah. Amar Rasi, Amar Rabbi Yechon, Mishum Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, Shloisha Yeino Yisein. There are 3 levels with respect to the wine of Igoy, with 3 different statuses. The top, the most severe, is Yain Nesach. Wine actually served to the idol, poured in front of Avodah Zarah. That is Asur Bahano. One can't have any benefit from that wine. It has the most severe tumah. So even a kazayis amount of this wine is matame b'maga. If you touch it, you become tamei. B'masa, even if you carry it without touching it, or b'oil, if you're under the same roof with that material, just like a dead person. And why? Because of that connection, says Rashi on the bottom line, iskish takroivis avodas kechavim. We connect it to a mace, l'mace, so it has the same status as a mace. But that's because it was actual Yain Nesach. What about Stam Yainam? Continues the Gemara, unspecified wine, which means to say wine owned by a guy, and we don't know whether or not it was actually poured to the Avodah Zarah. So although it's usher even bahano, but it doesn't have the same severity, the same level as actual Yain Nesach. This is merely asur midrabanan. Rashi says on the top line, we know why mishum gzeros Yain Nesach, because it could lead to Yain Nesach. So it's asur bahano, and it is tamei to a certain extent. It is somewhat tamei, but not on the same level as the previous. Umetame tumas mashkim revius. So a revius amount, which is bigger than a kazayis, a revius halog, right? About 3-4 ounces, is deemed tamei. Just like any food or drink which is tamei, which is considered merely a rishon tumah, which is a lower level of tumah. It can only impart tumah onto other foods. It can't affect a person who touches it. It can't affect a kli. So yain, actual Yain Nesach, is like a mace. Even if it touches a person or a kli, that person is tamei, because that's considered like an avatum, like aviyah tumah, right? But this is merely a rishon tumah, a lower level tumah, because it's only stam yain. The third level is hamafkid yainai. A person takes his own personal Yiddish wine and deposits it by the guy, leaves it in the guy's possession, for storage. Hamafkid yainai is like gechavim, so he stores it by the guy. Also b'shtia, so then there's a concern, explains Taisus, that maybe the guy took a drink from this, so he touched it, he tampered with it, so you may not drink it. Also b'shtia. No, but you could have benefit from it because it's a concern somewhat, but it's not really technically a wine of a guy. There's no concern that he would have actually switched it with his own wine, because the fact is it's yours. He wouldn't do that. He would perhaps take a drink, touch it, tamper with it. So it's asur b'shtia because the guy touched it, but you can still have hano, mutar b'hano. So we have 3 levels. The top is actual Yain Nesach, asur, even bahano, and has the most fiercest tumah. Next level is stam yenim, just plain goyish wine. It's also asr bahana, but it has a lower level tumah to it. Then wine stored by a goy is merely asr to drink. Asks the Gemara, really? You mean there's no concern that he may have swapped it with his own wine? In which case he's giving you back yain stam yenam, which is really more asr than... meaning, why are we only banning the shtia and allowing hana? Let us be concerned that perhaps the guy swapped your wine. He took your wine, he liked your bottle, he took yours, and he gave back his wine. In which case it should be asr even bahana. But tonight we have a Mishnah that there is such a concern when you store things by a guy. Mafkid peiroisav, it's like you left your wheat by the guy, kosher wheat, right? Where you had already separated the maser. You know it didn't grow on the 7th year. On Shemitah, there's no issues with kashrus. You left it by the guy for storage. Hari'ain kipeiroisav. When you come to pick it up, you have to treat it like the guy's wheat. Shalev the kechavim live shvius or maser regarding shvius and maser concerns. Why? Because perhaps he liked your quality, he took yours, and he swapped it with his own. So this wine perhaps is really a guy's wine. Well, we're speaking that he actually specified, he designated a corner, a room. He says, look, leave your stuff there. And as Rashi adds, he gave him a key, or some other seal. So basically it's relatively safe in the corner. So there's no concern that he would have swapped it. Well, then just drink it. If you know it's yours, if that's the case, we should allow you to drink it because it's certainly untampered with. As we find in the following story, there was a story regarding Rabbi Yochanan, Ikla the Parad. He came to this town called Parad, where Bar Kapara was the Rav, but he had now passed away. Amar, and he called out, Klum yesh mishnas bar kapara. Anybody can perhaps relate to me an interesting halacha, some sort of a lesson taught by the Rav bar kapara who had passed on. So yeah, somebody came forward, Tanalei, his name was Rab Tanchum, from this town, the Min Parut, and he told him, look, bar kapara Torah says as follows, if one stores his wine by a guy, go ahead and drink it. With the bishtia, you pick it up and you're good. Okay, so we assume the wine which was returned to you was the same wine you left there, you could drink it. Rabbi Yochanan, upon hearing this interesting halacha from the former Rav, Kari Alei, he applied on him the pasuk in Kaiheles, Makaim, Sheyipal Eitz, Sham Yehu, where the tree falls, that's where it stays. Basically what he's saying is, the Talmud Chacham Bar Kapara, who's compared to a tree, who protects his community, even after he falls, even after he passed away, his effect is still felt. Right? Because his lessons are still being practiced and promoted. Asks the Gemara, Shamyu Sakadaitach? So the tree is still there, but he passed away. What do you mean? He's not there. Ela Shamyu Peiroisav. What this means to say is that even if the tree falls, but the fruit that fall down, stay pretty much in close proximity. They don't fall far away from the tree. Rashi says, what he meant to say is that here as well, if a person, Afkan Hatzorach Libra Chachamim, person is looking for halachas and lessons taught by Chachamim, how do you find them? Go to the townspeople and hear them out. Yishal b'nei ir sheshayim v'lamdim menu u'malamdim esnachem. Go to the people in town and inquire with them regarding the halachas taught by the Rav. Okay, in any case, clearly Bar Kapara allowed the depositor to pick up his wine and go home with it, without concern of the guy having swapped it. Amar B'Zer Leikash, the answer is, it's really a machlekes tanoim. So in fact, it's subject to dispute. Harab Lazar, Harabonon, Bar Kapara, who allowed it, was in line with Shitas Rabbi Lazar, that we store stuff by the guy under lock and key. We assume it's safe and sound, and you can come pick it up and go home with it. Whereas the early halacha, which was a quote from Yehuda ben Beseira, disagreed. He held like the Chachamim. You never know. The guy may have made for himself a duplicate key and may have secretly swapped the goods, especially because it was under his care. Right? It was in his possession in his house. So he could have certainly found an opportunity to tamper with the goods. Harab Lezer Rabbanim, the Sanya. Where do we find this machlek? It's in a brayse. Echad lekeach, vechad hasoicher bayis bechatzeroi shel oibed kechavim. So we have a chatzer, a courtyard full of houses owned by a guy. He's a landlord. And you buy a house in that courtyard, or you rent a house, or you rent a room, whatever. Umil oh yain, you filled it with your own kosher wine. Umafteach oichosim b'yad Yisrael, and the key or the seal was made by the Yid. So officially, the tenant has, access, has control over that storage area. Can we assume it was untampered with? Rabbi Lezer Mater says, yeah. Chachamim Oisrim, they say no. And again, because it's in his possession, you stored it in his place. You're not around to look after it, so he could have taken the liberty to tamper with your stuff. So a single chaysam, just a lock or a seal, that wouldn't really suffice unless we have a double chaysam that we do today, right? We have like these bottles that are sealed once and then they're sitting in the case and sealed again. So that's a chaysam, double seal, which we'll see later, certainly provides proper security and coverage, even according to the Chacham. Amar B'chia Breidar Rabbi Chia Bar Nachmani, he quotes Amar Chizda Amar Rav. Va'Amar some had a different version of who said what. Amar Chizda, he quoted Amar Ziri. Va'Amar some had yet a third version, that it was Amar Chizda who said Amar li Abba Bar Chama. To me, Abba Bar Chama said as follows: Hachi Amar Ziri. He's quoting Ziri, that we conclude like Rabbi Lazar, Halach Rabbi Lazar, that even under these type of circumstances where you're storing it by a guy, if there's a chaysam, if there's a seal or a lock or something, you're safe and sound. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Now it's Rabbi Elazar the Amayra, who says like this: Hakoil mishtamer b'chaysam echad. So any type of kosher food placed in the hands of a guy is considered safe and secure if it has one seal. One seal is sufficient. Chutz min hayayin, except for wine. She'ein mishtamer b'chaysam echad. One seal doesn't provide adequate security because the guy is motivated to access the wine, perhaps to use it for the Avodah Zarah, etc. So wine is different, and you can't trust him with one seal. So he's going like the Shita of the Chachamim earlier, that you can't trust. You can't store stuff by a guy with only one seal. Whereas Rabbi Yechon Amar, he is in line with Rabbi Yechon earlier. Afilu yain mishtam b'chaysam echad. Even one seal is sufficient, even for wine. So in reality, this is not really a new machlekes. It's just a question of which Shita of the aforementioned opinions to adopt, Rabbi Lezer or the Chacham. So Rabbi Eliezer. So here, Rabbi Lezer, the Amoira, follows Rabbi Eliezer the Tana, that one seal, one lock is enough. He goes like Rabbi Lezer is Rabbi Yechon. It's going like Rabbi Lezer, and that one seal is enough. Whereas Rabbi Lezer, the Amoira, who says that you can't play it safe with wine, one chaysam is not sufficient. That's like the Rabban who say likewise. There was yet another version of this discussion between Rabbi Lazar, the Amoira, and Rabbi Yechanan. So according to this version, they were both in line with the Chachamim, who say you cannot trust the guy. You can't store stuff with a guy. You can't put things under his control and expect it to be safe. So, for instance, if you have wine that's being shipped with a guy, just under one seal, that's not enough. Or stored by a guy with one seal is not enough. So Amar Blazer says, Hakoil mishtamer b'chaysam chaysam. So one single seal is not enough. But if it's a chaysam b'soy chaysam, it's a double seal, one inside the other, that makes it really tamper-proof for anything else other than wine. It's due to that extra, added, element of motivation. So he's prone to tamper with the wine, even if it's double sealed. Chutz min hayayin she'ein mishtamer b'chaysam. Wine is not deemed Mishtamer, it's not considered secured, even with a double seal. So Rabbi Elazar is going really strict here. He says, look, even a double seal by wine doesn't work. He says, no. If it has a double seal, you're safe even with respect to wine. If it's a double seal, so certainly one seal is not enough for anything. Why? They're both in line with the Rabbanan mentioned earlier, who say, look, you can't trust the guy with anything. You can't store things by him with only one seal, but if it has a double seal, totally new equation. So Rabbi Yechon holds, in that case, it's mutter even for wine. That's what we do today. We double seal things to keep it safe and kosher. So Mar Savar, ki pligi Rabbanan alei Rabbi Elazar. So the point is that Rabbi Yechon holds, right? Their disagreement, meaning Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yechon, are disagreeing with respect to the Chachamim, who are the most strict shita, according to their opinion. How far does it go? One seal is not enough. 2 seals are required. Mar Savar. So Rabbi Yechon holds, ki pligi Rabbanan alei Rabbi Eliezer. When did Rabbanan disagree with Rabbi Eliezer earlier and don't trust the guy? By only one lock. But if it's a double seal, sure, they allow it. Even they would allow it. And even by wine. Amar Savar, whereas Rabbi Elazar, the Amora holds, wine is an exception. It's too enticing, in which case even one seal will not be enough. Even a double seal, even a double seal, Asri, they would still forbid, and there's a concern of Yain Nesach. Okay, so bottom line is like this. We're speaking about the kosher wine stored in the hands of a goy, put in his possession. So if it's only one choisam, so Rabbi Eliezer is mater, Chachamim forbid, and within the Shitas Chachamim, we have Rabbi Yechon, who says, look, if it's a double seal, certainly Chaisam covers all concerns. So we speak about this Chaisam b'Chaisam, this double seal. How do we go about it? What exactly is this? So the point here is to provide an extra deterrent to dissuade the guy from tampering with the material, lest he be caught in the act, because if it's a double seal, it makes it for a very difficult forge. So the point is to, present that extra difficult, extra level of difficulty, extra barrier in his way. So how would you describe this double seal? Amar Rava. So we come up with 4 examples. The first is Agna. Agna is a bowl, a basin. Overturned over the mouth, the opening of this barrel of wine. Shrika, attached with the plaster, so you run plaster around the at the point of contact between the basin and the barrel, so you seal it. V'chasima, plus you affix your signature, your John Hancock, onto the plaster, so that qualifies. That constitutes a double seal, which makes for a very difficult forge. But otherwise, if you haven't sealed it, you haven't affixed your signature loy, it doesn't qualify. Another example is the kula. You have this basket, and you're going to overturn it and squeeze it over the head, over the top of this container, top of this barrel of wine. And it's firmly squeezed in place over this barrel of wine which had been sealed with its own lid. So the chiddush here is, even though the basket is not attached, is not plastered onto but since it's firmly attached, it's squeezed by way of pressure. It's situated in a very tight setup. So then that provides an extra deterrent. He's not going to bother opening it, and have a choisam is considered a double closure. When it's not firmly squeezed in place, then it makes for easy removal, and there's no double seal lehavi, it's not considered chaysam sechaysam. Another example is noit, a small sized leather wine a pouch, right? Bidiskia inserted into a large sack, which of course will be tied up. But the point is that the inner container has chasimas people mata, the opening of that small container is now overturned and facing downward. So you have the inner one overturned, facing downward, sitting in the outer one facing upward and tied as well. So it's a bit complicated to get in there and open things up and turn things in the right way. So therefore, he'll keep away. But if it's pivla malaf, the inner container is facing upwards as well, it makes it for a very easy access, because he just unties the outer one, unties the inner one, he's right there, and therefore lehavi is not considered chaysam b'sei chaysam. Another example, v'kayiv pume legav. So you have this leather pouch, this leather wine container, and what they used to do is they would tie the mouth closed, and then they would bend it, fold it inward, and tie it again. So it's basically a knot on top of a knot, plus the fact that it's bent inwards, which makes it complex, difficult to access and to restore properly. V'kayev pume, if the opening is bent legav inwards, v'tzayir v'chosim, and again you have it tied up and closed up on the outside again, so it's double knotted and it's facing inward. That too qualifies as a double seal, and it is considered halachically tamper-proof. But in the old days, they would say, yayin, wine, which is obtained from a place called Shal'ain Kushi. Rashi says this town was inhabited by the Kusim. So they were sort of technically Jews, but only adopted the Torah Shebaksav, the written Torah. They weren't very, very concerned with Goyish wine and the halachas of Chachamim. So you wouldn't partake in their wines. Sir, you know why? Due to Biras Srika. In the town of Biras Srika, there lived Goyim. And this was next door to Ein Kushi. So don't touch the wine of Ein Kushi, because if you drink that, you might be drinking wine that was tampered with by a guy who came to visit from the next neighboring town. V'shel Baraksa, likewise wine found in the town of Baraksa, which was inhabited by Kusim, poses a concern also because of their neighbors. Mipnei Kfar, who came from Kfar Pershai, Goyim, who may have visited and tampered with this wine. And likewise, V'shel Zagdur, wine found in Zagdur, a place of Kusim, is Asher because Mipnei Kfar Shalim, because of the Goyim next door who may have come and touched this wine. So initially that's what they would say. But then they came around, they decided, the Chachamim did, that it really depends. Chaviyos psuchos, wine found in open barrels by the kusim, asuros are off limits because of tampering concern. But stumos, if they're still sealed and closed, mutaros, then they are permissible. Why? What changed? So mikara my sover, ubayzef my sover. What were they thinking initially, and why they changed their halacha? Says the Gemara, mikara sover. Initially, the Chachamim figured, look, you never know. You can't trust a kusi with his wine. It could have been touched by the guy. Ein kusi makbid al maga. Kusi is not very careful, not very concerned to guard his wine from coming into contact with a guy, and therefore all of the kusi's wines are presumed to be asur loishna psuchos, loishna stumos, whether they're in open containers or closed containers. Back away. But later on, they figured like this. For commercial reasons, for business purposes, he wouldn't take a chance with his closed barrels. He's not concerned about his open barrels, just a little left. He's not very concerned about tampering. But but the barrels that are still closed up, which are for sale, he doesn't want to lose his customers. So there he'll be careful and guard them from the goyim, so you can assume that they're kosher. Ask the Gemara, Ustumais mutar. So you're saying, well, the open barrels, which are half done, half depleted, just a little left. He's not very concerned about losing a sale, but the closed ones are mutar. V'ramini, you have a kasha from a brisa that if you place even your wine in possession of a kusi, right? You send it with a kusi, you never know what happened to it. You can't trust him. And it sounds like it's a closed barrel of wine, biat kusi, with a kusi, you never know. And the brisa continues with several more examples, Rishal Tzir, or the container is filled with fish brine. And what's the concern there? Rashi says perhaps the fellow switched it with non-kosher brine, which apparently was cheaper. Rishal Murias, if you send a container with Murias, fish juice, fish fat, and again, he may have substituted some of that material with wine, which is cheaper than that material. So there's a concern of kashrus. So if you send these items biyad avd with a guy, you have to be careful. So the only way you can assume that it's okay is if it was sealed properly, and now when you take delivery, you can identify that seal as being untampered with. If you recognize the seal and you see it's good, then it's mutter. Otherwise it's asur. Even a filled barrel, a closed barrel with a kusi is asur. Apparently, because even though the kusi himself is not suspected of worshipping an idol and doing the yain nesach, but perhaps he did not guard it from the guy's contact, from coming into contact with a guy. So even a closed barrel is a problem. Here we say closed barrels are safe. Amar of Zera, depends where, like kasha, depends where, like kam be'er, kam b'derech. So if it's in town, right? So for financial purposes, the kusi takes more care and watches his stuff. Kam b'derech, if it's on the road, he's figuring, look, who's watching me? So there, it may have been tampered by a guy. So that's the reason why in this brisa, if you send the barrel with a kusi, it's a problem because it's on the road. Maska flow Rabbi Yirmiyah, I don't understand. He says, Midi, hanach de'ir. How did the barrels get into town? I mean, they were trucked on the roads first, right? They didn't wake up in town. It was processed in the vineyards, right? Hanach de'ir, those barrels found in town, loy b'derech also, didn't they come by way of the road? And if during that stage, on the road stage, it's deemed problematic, how could it suddenly become kosher when it hits town? Hello, Rabbi Yirmiyah. He says like this. So wine in the hands of a kusi is deemed unsafe, wherever, in the city, on the road, for concern that a goy may have come into contact with that wine. Now, regarding the earlier brisa, where we do trust the kusi to maintain his wine, that's speaking beinagitois shaninu. That's when the wine pressing season was in session, and the wine here is between the vineyards, between the wine presses, where the customers are going and coming, and that poses a proper deterrent, an incentive for the kusi to guard his stuff, to maintain his business. He's thinking, Kivin Dukuli Alma, since everybody's walking around Afri, they're walking around, Mercy is concerned. And he protects the wine from the goy. Omar, he figures, Hashta, look, now, Ichazili. All I need is that a Yid notices me being uncareful, Ma'afsudali. I'll lose my business. So now it's deemed safe. Now we shift to a brand new topic. Itma, we have learned as follows. Mipnei ma, why is it so? Asru shecher shaloi dekachav, that one may not drink beer from a guy in his company, in a social setting, in a formal setting. You cannot drink beer of a guy. Now Tosfos points out that we don't find it anywhere. It's not mentioned in a Mishnah or in a Brisa. Says Tosfos, V'shama b'mei ha'amiroim asru. It appears that this ban was established in the time of the Amoraim, time of the Gemara. So the question isn't a matter of if, it's mipnei ma, why? So what's the reason behind the Isra? Says the Gemara, we have two options. Rami bar Chama Amar B'Yitzchak, he says, Mishum Chasnus, a concern about intermarriage. So, sitting down for a beer in a formal setting with a guy might lead to closeness of heart and social interaction. By the way, Taisus brings that this applies to any type of beer, even beer made from grain, from barley, like today's beer. And that's how the Shulchan Aruch rules, but the Rama says that it only applies to the beer found in the time of that was prevalent in the time of the Gemara, more beer which was more chashav, made from dates. So only date beer, which is deemed a formal drink, carries this concern. But just cheap beers like today, that would not pose a concern. And the Rama says that's how people are noyeg. Nevertheless, others are machmer and hold that even all types of these types of drinks, one should not be drinking together, in the company of a goy. Okay, so the first reason is mishum chasnus, for concern of closeness and intermarriage. Rav Nachman Amar mishum giluy, he says the reason is because of giluy, which we discussed in great length yesterday. Because the goyim are not very careful from the halacha of giluy, right? They allow their liquids to be, sitting out and exposed to the elements, which poses a concern for us that perhaps a snake may have come, drunk from the liquid, and deposited his venom, posing a danger for those who consume that liquid. Asks the Gemara, at what point in the beer making process are we concerned that it was left open? Giloy demai. Ilema giloy din zaisa, while still in the barrel, while it's being made and being processed. We too leave it open at that stage. Rashi says, you know why? Because the Kaimila, we know for a fact that a snake is not attracted to beer. It's not his drink. It's not on his menu. So what's the problem if it's a Gaisha beer? Perhaps once it gets to the final, container, final barrel, after it's been processed, well, exposure at that point again is not a problem. We also leave it open at that point because beer doesn't interest the snake. So what's the problem of Gil? Litzricha must be a concern as follows. But Asra the Maslumai, we're in a place where they let the water that they're going to put into the beer, they let it sit out till it settles and filters. And if it's open and exposed to the elements, that poses a concern. Asks the Gemara, okay, if the concern is because of the snake venom, if that's the concern, only because of that, then Yashan Ish Dishtari. What about beer which had been aged? It's old, it's aged, it's Dishtari, it should be mutter. Why? Because it wouldn't become aged. It wouldn't get to that improved stage, so to speak, if it would have a venom in it. The Amar, Rabbi Chanina, there's a Gish of Chanina, Yashan mutter. Right? So, although you're not meant to leave wine out, but if the wine has now aged, has now been determined to have reached the point of aged wine, then you can go and drink it mutter, because ein manicha liyashin, the snake venom, if it were inside, would not allow it to reach that point, wouldn't allow it to develop and become aged wine. Likewise, hechmetz, if the wine, we're talking about fresh grape juice, freshly squeezed juice, if it now ferments into wine, if it gets to that stage, then once again, there's no snakes in there. Mutter, there's no venom, because ein manicha liyashin, if there were any venom inside that freshly squeezed grape juice, it wouldn't allow it. It would halt the fermentation process. So if this beer is yashan, whatever that means, it became old and aged, then we know that you're safe. Because if there would be venom, it would never develop, never proceeded to the next stage of aged beer. So it's like, well, you're right. Technically, if it's yashan, you're safe, but gzeru yashan to chadash, keep away even from yashan, because it could lead to consuming even fresh beer, and that poses a safety concern. Okay, so keep away from the Goyish beer. But Rav Papa mafikinle lababa de chanusa b'shasi. Rav Papa, if he wanted to have a beer, they would bring the beer out. Mafikinle, they would bring it out to him. Lababa de chanusa, to the doorway outside the chanusa, the place where they sell it. B'shasi, you drink it outside. So it was okay since it wasn't in the company of the goyim. Rav Achai, he took it a step further. He would drink it only at home. Ma'asur leila. Basically, they bring it to his house. B'shasi, and drink it over there. But tavai mishum chasus. Now both these Amoraim held like the first opinion. The reason for the Isra is because of chasnus. So as long as you're doing it yourself and not in the guy's company, that eliminates any concern of social interaction and closeness and intermarriage. So basically the item itself is not forbidden. You see, the Rishonim asked this kasha. I mean, it's the obvious kasha. We know that, let's say, pas akum, right? Why is it different than pas akum, which is inherently asr? Or like yayin, right? Stam. Here we say it's just sort of a personal thing. As long as you keep your distance, the item itself is mutter. You can drink the beer, just not with the guy. So why is it different than bread? Baked by a guy is inherently asr, whether you eat it in his house or your house. So the Ramban, other Rishonim explain that bread is so critical. It's such a staple food. He says, "Kelapas yichya ha'adam." Everybody needs bread. Is a vital element of our life. So he says that requires more harchaka. It's more prevalent. It's more common. It's more. So Chacham applied a greater measure of concern, a greater measure of distancing, and they banned the actual item, the bread itself. But beer, it's not such a staple element of our life, and therefore, as long as there's an element of care to be taken and distancing, it is deemed to be okay. Okay, so both Rav Papa and Rav Achai based their practice on the reason of chasnus. Basically, the concern was because of interaction. Except that Rav Achai, Avodah Zarah rasa, as opposed to Rav Papa, who's comfortable drinking right outside the place. Rav Achai took a step further, rasa, and he went further, and he only drank it in his own home. Rav Shmuel bar Bisna, Ikla, he visited the town of Margavan, Ikla Margavan. Who lived in Margavan? Rashi says, Yisrael Chashudin Hayu. They were Yidden, but they were not the most adherent Jews. And they were not makbid, they were not careful from allowing goyim to touch their wines. So what happened when he came to this town? They served them wine, he didn't want to drink it. For kashrus concerns. So they served him beer, he kept away from the beer as well. Now what's wrong with the beer? After all, he's being served by Yidden. I understand why he kept away from the wine, because of shimtza. Rashi says, there's an element of concern of Isser, perhaps it was touched by a guy. But Shechra, Mishimai, what's wrong with drinking their beer? Shimshim said the Shimtza, because one thing can lead to the next. Today it's beer, tomorrow it's wine. So he kept far away. Amar Rav. Hi Shechra Darma. So what about the beer from a guy? Shari. Technically it's allowed. So you can drink it without a concern. But V'chia Bri L'nishtiminei. My son Chia should not drink it. Why is he different? Manav Shach. Either way. Ishari, if it's okay, L'kuliyam Shari, it should be allowed for everybody. Asr, it's Asr, L'kuliyam Asr, it should be Asr to all. Why is he singling out his own son? Ella says the Gemara, let me explain to you. Rav Savar Mishim Giluya. Rav was of the opinion that the ban on the sheikh, on the goyish beer, was not because of chasnos. It was because of the giloy, the safety concern. So the water had been exposed and perhaps filled with venom. Now, once it's processed into beer, it has the hops and right. V'azal merura the kashus, and the bitterness of this hops actually serves as an antidote. It burns out, it deactivates the venom that's potentially in there, right? So you have some venom, but it's been deactivated. Except that a person who's by nature more of a weaker type of person, not so resilient, udulaki, a person like that, malkile tfei, this dormant venom can actually accentuate his situation and weaken him further. And that's the story of my son. Chia, my son, since he's weak by nature, shouldn't drink this beer. So according to Rav, the concern was gilui, but it would only apply to a person who is susceptible to it, as opposed to Rav Papa, Rav Achai, who adopted the first concern. They were concerned about chasnus, and that's how we paskin. In which case, it would be usher to all, unless it's done, without the, not in the guy's company. Amar Shmuel, you should know, kol hashrotzim mishlan eres. All types of creatures have some sort of excretion when they drink. They spit in their their deposits, and it could affect a person's health, but it's not as dangerous as a snake. Right? The reason why we're so careful about snakes is because shal nachash memes, venom coming from a snake can actually kill a person. Shal shrotzim memes, not so by other insects and creatures. So, in reality, you should keep away from any liquids that were tampered with by any shrotzim, except that by the nachash. The reason why it's so highlighted, we always speak about the nachash, is because there it's actually more critical. It can actually kill a person. But in reality, the concern applies to all types of shrotzim. Shal nachash meimish, shal nachash meimish, shal shrotzim eni meimish. Amalei Rav Shmuel, he told Rav Chia, L'Chia bar Rav, Chia the son of Rav, Bar Arya, son of a lion, son of a great man. Your father was a lion, was Rav. I want to tell you something interesting from your own father. Come, I'll tell you Milsa, Malyasa, some good, interesting thing. The Amar Rab Uvuch, that was said over by your father Rav. Hachi Amar Avuch, your father said like this. In case you're wondering, how come only Yidden are concerned about Gilui? What happened to Gilui in the world at large? How come Goyim are not interested in this whole... they're not affected by snake venom? Hani Armoy. So these Goyim, Zukhani, these bloated Goyim, Dahavu, Shasug, Luya. The reason why they're bloated is because they drink all kinds of liquids exposed to the elements, which contain all kinds of animal deposits. But the reason why it doesn't affect them to the point of death, leimesu, you know why? Because they have this immunity. Because I did the achlish katzim or because they eat all kinds of creatures and clams and all kinds of things. Chavel gufayu, that heats up their body, and it serves as an antidote to sort of deactivate the snake venom, so it doesn't affect them to that extent, as it affects a yid whose body is pure, pristine, due to the fact that he's only involved in kosher foods, as opposed to the guy whose bodies heat up from the shkatzim or masim brewing within them. Amar Rav Yosef, Amar Halacha, Hai Chala. Oh, now we move on to vinegar produced from the shikhr arma, the arma made from the beer produced by a guy. So now it's a question of kashrus. We're not going to drink vinegar with a guy. It's not a social issue. It's a question of the kashrus status of this material. So you would think it's okay, right? It's vinegar produced from beer, which is not made from wine. It's right. No, it's usher. Keep away. You know why? Because they put the ma'arvi beidurdai di'ainesach in order to facilitate the fermentation. They stick in durdaya leaves of yainesach. That somehow instigates the fermentation process. Amar Rav Ashi, Oitzer Shari. That's only if it's being taken off the shelf. So maybe he used this ingredient. But if it's from the back room, from the storage, Shari, then you're okay, you're safe. Because if you would mix this stuff into the beer, Mr. Shari would spoil. Apparently it only lasts a short time, has a short shelf life. So you can't take it off the shelf, but from the back room, it's presumed to be free and clear of this ingredient, which would spoil it in the long run. So he wouldn't risk it, lest it spoil his stored material. Okay, let's do a quick chazar of today's daf. We had 3 levels of yain nesach. Actual yain nesach is asur b'shtiya, b'hano, it's metame like a mace. Stam yainam is asur b'hano and b'shtiya, and has a lesser degree of tumah. Kosher wine stored by a guy, well, that's up for discussion. According to the shita of Rebbe Lezer, as long as it has its own, you had your own room, your own place, and it was sealed, it was locked, with even one chaysam, you can safely assume it was untampered with. Whereas the Chachamim don't trust the guy in this case, unless you have a double seal, a chaysam b'sei chaysam, according to the shita of Rabbi Yochanan, that would allow it. We had several depictions of the double sealing of the chaysam b'sei chaysam, which would address and allay any fears. What about the yain in the hands of a kusi? So if it would be his own, apparently it wouldn't be a concern, but since he's uncareful in terms of a guy contacting the wine, you got to be careful unless you're in a place where there are crowds milling. In that case, he's concerned, for his business interests. In which case, he would protect the wine from the guy, and you're okay. One is not meant to drink even beer in the company of a guy in a formal manner, which would perhaps facilitate closeness and chasnus. So the actual material is kosher as long as it's drunk away from the guy, like outside the store or in the privacy of one's home. According to the other shita, there was a concern of gilui, which somehow doesn't affect the goyim, because shkatzim or masim heat up their bodies and counteract the venom effect. Regarding the challah de shicharamo, regarding the vinegar produced from this beer, it would be okay if it's taken out from storage, where we know there would be no mix of yain nesach. All the best to you, and hatzlacha rabba.